The emergency alarm rang through the massive halls of the Galactic Council. Do-hyun Kim walked quickly down the long corridor, his black diplomatic uniform crisp and clean. His footsteps echoed off the crystal walls as he headed to the main chamber. Something big was happening. Do-hyun had been the human representative on the council for 5 years. In all that time, he had never heard the emergency alarm. The sound made his skin crawl. It meant something terrible was about to happen. The main chamber was already full when he arrived. Hundreds of beings from across the galaxy sat in their floating seats. Some had fur, some had scales, others looked like walking trees. But they all looked worried. Very worried. Ambassador Jiwoo Park stood near the human section. She was older than Do-hyun, with gray hair and sharp eyes. She had been dealing with aliens for 20 years. When she saw Do-hyun, she waved him over. "What's going on?" Do-hyun asked in a quiet voice. "The Velthari," Jiwoo said. Her voice was tight. "They're making noise about the outer colonies." Do-hyun felt his stomach drop. The Velthari were warriors. Big, strong, and proud. They had red skin and 4 arms. Most importantly, they were stupid enough to think they were the strongest race in the galaxy. Tae-min Lee, a young analyst, hurried over to them. His tablet was glowing with new information. "Ma'am," he said to Jiwoo, "I'm getting reports from our spy network. The Velthari fleet is moving." "Moving where?" Do-hyun asked. "Toward our space," Tae-min said. His hands were shaking a little. The great speaker in the center of the chamber began to glow. A voice filled the air, speaking in the old galactic language. Do-hyun's translator chip turned the words into English in his head. "Council members," the voice said, "we have called this emergency meeting because the oldest law in our galaxy may be broken." A cold silence fell over the chamber. Everyone knew what the oldest law was. It had been carved into stone monuments on every world. It had been taught to every child for 3,000 years. Never cross the humans. An old being stood up in the center. It looked like a tree with a face ancient and wise. This was Elder Morthak, one of the few beings still alive who remembered the first human wars. "Young ones," Elder Morthak said, his voice like wind through leaves, "you have forgotten why we made this law. You think it was fear. You think it was weakness. But those who saw the humans in their first wars know the truth. The law was not made to protect us from the humans. It was made to protect the humans from themselves." Across the chamber, the Velthari section was making noise. Their leader, Supreme War Leader Kethmaran, stood up. He was huge even for his kind. His red skin was covered in battle scars. His 4 arms were thick with muscle. "Enough of this old fool's stories," Kethmaran roared. "The humans are weak. They sit in their little corner of space, trading and talking. They have forgotten how to fight. The Velthari will show them what real warriors can do." Elder Morthak's old eyes turned sad. "Young war leader, you do not understand. The humans have not forgotten how to fight. They have chosen not to fight. There is a difference." "Lies," Kethmaran shouted. "We have studied them. They have small fleets. They have no battle stations. They spend their time on art and music and stupid human things. They are prey animals now." Do-hyun felt anger rise in his chest. But Jiwoo put a hand on his arm. "Let him talk," she whispered. "Let him show everyone how stupid he is." Kethmaran continued his speech. "The Velthari Empire claims the human outer colonies. We will take Serenity Station, Haven's Rest, and New Busan. If the humans want them back, they can try to fight us for them." The chamber exploded in noise. Some beings were shouting in anger. Others were trying to calm everyone down. But Elder Morthak just sat down and put his head in his hands. Another old being stood up. This one looked like a giant bug with silver wings. "War Leader Kethmaran," it said. "I was there during the Centauri campaign. I saw what happens when humans fight. Please think about what you are doing." "I have thought," Kethmaran said. "The old laws were made by cowards. The Velthari fear no one." Do-hyun looked at Jiwoo. Her face had gone very pale. "He's really going to do it," she said quietly. "Can we stop him?" Do-hyun asked. "Not legally," Jiwoo said. "The colonies are in disputed space. If he attacks them, it's an act of war. But the council can't stop member races from going to war." Tae-min was looking at his tablet again. His face was white with fear. "Ma'am," he said, "I'm getting signals from our deep space monitors. Velthari battle fleets are already moving. They're going to attack within the next 6 hours." Jiwoo closed her eyes. "Then it's too late." The formal session continued for another hour. Many beings tried to talk Catamaran out of his plan. They showed him old records from the first human wars. They played recordings of battles where human ships had destroyed entire fleets without taking any damage. They begged him to remember why the oldest law existed, but Catamaran would not listen. He was too proud, too sure of his own strength. When the session ended, he stood up and made one final announcement. In 6 hours, the Velthari will attack the human colonies. In 12 hours, we will own them. The humans can surrender or they can die. It makes no difference to us. He walked out of the chamber, his forearms swinging with confidence. Do-hyun, Ji-woo, and Taemin sat in the now quiet chamber. Around them, other beings were talking in worried voices. Everyone knew that something terrible was about to happen. We need to warn Earth, Do-hyun said. They already know. Ji-woo said sadly. Our spy networks are too good. They probably knew about this before we did. Then why aren't they doing something? Taemin asked. Ji-woo looked at the young man with tired eyes. They're doing something. They're giving the Velthari one last chance to change their minds. And if they don't? Do-hyun asked. Before Ji-woo could answer, her communication device began to beep. She looked at it and her face went even more pale. What is it? Do-hyun asked. It's a message from Earth Defense Command, Ji-woo said. Her voice was barely a whisper. All human diplomatic staff are ordered to return to Earth immediately. All trade agreements are suspended. All joint projects are stopped. She looked up at Do-hyun and Taemin. It's starting. The humans are going to war. Elder Morthak was still sitting in his chair, looking very old and very sad. As the humans walked past him toward the exit, he spoke one last time. I am sorry, he said. I am sorry we could not make them understand. The galaxy is about to remember why we made the oldest law, and it will be terrible to watch. Outside the chamber, Do-hyun could hear the sound of ships taking off. The Velthari fleet was heading toward human space. In a few hours, they would attack 3 peaceful colonies. They were about to learn why the oldest law in the galaxy existed, and it would be too late to take it back. The attack came at dawn on Serenity Station. The colonists were drinking their morning coffee when the Velthari ships appeared in the sky. There was no warning, no demand to surrender. The red-skinned warriors simply opened fire. Serenity Station had 50,000 people. It was a farming colony growing food for the inner worlds. The people there were teachers, farmers, and families. They had no weapons except hunting rifles and old mining equipment. The attack lasted 30 minutes. When it was over, Serenity Station was gone. Haven's Rest was next. This was a research station where human scientists studied alien plants. They sent one desperate message before the Velthari ships found them. Then their signal went dead. New Busan was the largest of the 3 colonies. It had over 100,000 people. They had time to see the Velthari coming. The colony leaders tried to evacuate the children first. They almost succeeded. The ships carrying the children were still taking off when the Velthari opened fire. Admiral Yoon-ji Song was in her office on Luna Base when the reports came in. She was a small woman with gray hair and calm eyes. She had been running the Terra Defense Force for 10 years. In all that time, no one had attacked a human colony. She read the reports 3 times. Each time, the numbers stayed the same. 3 colonies, 200,000 people, all dead. Her assistant, Captain Min-ho Choi, stood at attention by her desk. He was young for a captain, but his eyes were old. He had seen combat before in the border wars with pirates. Ma'am, Min-ho said quietly, Earth Command is asking for your orders. Admiral Song looked out the window at Earth. The blue planet looked so peaceful from here. Soon that peace would be over. Send a message to all human colonies, she said. Protocol 7 is now in effect. Min-ho's face went pale. Protocol 7 had never been used before. It meant total recall. Every human ship, every trade mission, every diplomat would come home. Right now, all of them, ma'am. Min-ho asked. All of them, Admiral Song said. Every human in the galaxy has 72 hours to get back to human space. After that, we consider them casualties of war. While Min-ho sent the orders, Admiral Song called Dr. So-young Kang. She was the smartest person Admiral Song knew. If anyone could explain what was about to happen, it would be her. Dr. Kang arrived an hour later. She was a tall woman with kind eyes and a gentle voice. She studied alien cultures and military history. She also knew more about human warfighting than anyone else alive. Doctor, Admiral Song said, I need you to explain something to the Galactic Council. They need to understand what happens next. What do you want me to tell them? Dr. Kang asked. The truth, Admiral Song said. All of it. The Galactic Council emergency session was chaos. Representatives from hundreds of worlds were shouting at each other. Some were angry at the Velthari. Others were scared about what the humans might do. Dr. Kang walked to the center of the chamber. When she spoke, her voice was calm and clear. Council members, she said, you asked for a human response to the Velthari attacks. I am here to give you that response. The chamber became quiet. You need to understand something about humans, Dr. Kang continued. We are not like other species. When most races go to war, they send their armies to fight while their people stay safe at home. Humans do not work this way. She turned to look at the Velthari section. Keth Moran was there, looking proud and confident. When humans go to war, Dr. Kang said, our entire species goes to war. Every factory becomes a weapon factory. Every ship becomes a warship. Every human becomes a soldier. We do not have armies. We become an army. Lies, Keth Moran shouted. Humans are weak. They proved it by running away from their colonies instead of fighting. Dr. Kang smiled sadly. War leader, we are not running away. We are coming home to prepare. There is a difference. She touched her tablet and a huge display appeared above the chamber. It showed the human part of the galaxy. Little dots of light showed human colonies, trade stations, and ships. This is human space 72 hours ago, Dr. Kang said. As you can see, we had people spread across thousands of worlds. The display changed. Now all the little dots were moving. They were all heading toward Earth and the core human worlds. This is human space right now, Dr. Kang said. Every human outside our core systems is coming home. Every ship, every station, every person. So what? Keth Moran said. You are just proving that humans are cowards. The display changed again. This time it showed industrial output numbers. Mining rates, ship construction, weapon production. War leader, Dr. Kang said quietly. Human industrial capacity is about to increase by 800%. Our ship construction will go up by 1,000%. Our research into military technology will increase by 1,500%. The numbers on the display kept growing. But more importantly, Dr. Kang continued, our entire population is about to focus on one single goal, winning this war. An old reptilian being stood up. This was Counselor Vaskatar, one of the wisest members of the council. Dr. Kang, Vaskatar said, are you saying that humans have never shown their true military power? That is exactly what I'm saying, Dr. Kang replied. For 3,000 years, humans have been very careful to never fight at full capacity. We always held back. We always limited ourselves. We did this to keep the peace. She looked around the chamber. The Velthari have just ended that peace. Back on Luna Base, Admiral Song was meeting with her senior staff. Captain Minho was there, along with Sergeant Hyunwoo Jang, a veteran of the old contact wars. Status report, Admiral Song said. 93% of all humans are back in our space, Minho said. The rest will be here within 12 hours. Industrial conversion is ahead of schedule, Sergeant Jang added. The civilian factories are already switching to military production. We should have the first new battlecruisers rolling out within a week. Admiral Song nodded. And our special projects? Minho smiled for the first time since the attacks. All greenlit. Dr. Woo-seok Kim says the stealth fleet will be ready for testing in 48 hours. Good, Admiral Song said. Now let's talk about our response to the Velthari. She activated the main display. It showed Velthari space with their military positions marked in red. The Velthari think they won a great victory, Admiral Song said. They think they scared us into hiding. They are wrong on both counts. She pointed to several locations on the map. We are not hiding. We are preparing. And when we are ready, we will show the galaxy why the oldest law existed. The meeting was interrupted by an urgent message. Admiral Song read it and her face became very serious. What is it, ma'am? Minho asked. A message from Earth Command, Admiral Song said. I am ordered to address the galaxy. All channels, all frequencies. 20 minutes later, every communication device in the galaxy received the same message. Admiral Song's face appeared on screens across thousands of worlds. Citizens of the galaxy, she said. I am Admiral Yoonji Song of the Terran Defense Force. 72 hours ago, the Velthari Empire attacked 3 human colonies. They killed 200,000 innocent people. Her voice was calm, but her eyes were hard as steel. The Galactic Council has asked for humanity's response. Here it is. She paused and looked directly into the camera. The Terran Confederacy hereby invokes Article 0 of our founding charter. All non-essential treaties are suspended. All trade agreements are void. All diplomatic missions are recalled. Another pause. The human species is now at war. The transmission ended. Across the galaxy, beings who remembered the old wars felt their blood turn cold. The young ones did not understand yet, but they would learn. On the Velthari homeworld, Keth Moran watched the message with his war council. When it ended, he laughed. "Did you hear that?" he said to his officers. "The humans think they can scare us with words." But his oldest advisor, a scarred veteran named Morgak, did not laugh. "War leader," Morgak said quietly, "my grandfather fought the humans during first contact. Before he died, he told me something I have never forgotten." "What?" Keth Moran asked. "He said that when humans make war, they do not try to defeat you. They try to solve you." Keth Moran waved his hand dismissively. "Old fool's words. The humans will learn what real warriors can do." But deep in space, human ships were already moving. Ships that no one had ever seen before. Ships that used technology the galaxy thought was impossible. The war had begun, and the galaxy was about to remember why humans were feared. The first Velthari patrol never saw what killed them. They were guarding the edge of their space, proud and confident after their easy victory over the human colonies. Their sensors showed nothing. Space looked empty. Then their ship simply stopped working. Commander Yujin Nam watched from her invisible ship as the Velthari vessels drifted helplessly in space. Her stealth cruiser was completely undetectable. It used technology that bent light around it, making it vanish from both eyes and sensors. "Target neutralized," Yujin said into her communicator. "No casualties. Their weapons and engines are disabled, but life support is still working." "Good work, Ghost One," came the reply from Admiral Song. "Continue the mission." Yujin smiled. The Ghost Fleet was humanity's newest weapon. 50 ships that could become invisible and disable enemy vessels without destroying them. The Velthari had no idea they existed. "Move to the next target," Yujin told her crew. "Let's show them what real stealth looks like." On the Velthari border world of Kraktar, Lieutenant Dayun Seo was preparing for her own mission. She was sitting in the cockpit of a fighter that looked like nothing the galaxy had ever seen. It was small, fast, and covered in strange angles that confused enemy sensors. "All pilots, this is Control," came the voice in her helmet. "Your mission is to gather intelligence on Velthari defenses. Do not engage unless attacked. We want information, not a fight." Dayun checked her instruments one more time. Everything looked good. Her fighter's AI was already learning the patterns of local space traffic. "Roger, Control," she said. "Shadow Squadron is ready to launch." 20 fighters launched from a hidden human carrier. They flew toward Kraktar like ghosts in the night. The Velthari sensors saw nothing unusual, just some space dust and background radiation. But the human fighters were recording everything. Every defense satellite, every patrol route, every weakness in the Velthari's defenses. Meanwhile, deep in human space, engineer Woo-seok Kim was working on something that would change everything. He stood in a massive factory that had been making civilian goods just a week ago. Now it was producing weapons, but not normal weapons. These were smart weapons. Weapons that could think. "The manufacturing process is complete," Woo-seok told Admiral Song over the video link. "The first batch of adaptive missiles is ready for field testing." "Explain how they work," Admiral Song said. Woo-seok held up what looked like a normal missile. But when he touched it, the surface began to shift and change. "Each missile has a small AI brain," he said. "When it encounters enemy defenses, it adapts. If the enemy has shields, it learns to go around them. If they have armor, it finds the weak spots. If they try to jam it, it switches to backup systems." He set the missile down and it continued to change shape, practicing different configurations. "But the real breakthrough is the network effect," Woo-seok continued. "All the missiles share information with each other. If one learns how to defeat a certain defense, they all learn it instantly." Admiral Song smiled. "How many do we have?" "The first 1,000,000 are ready now," Woo-seok said. "We can produce 10 million more per week." While human technology advanced at impossible speed, the Velthari were beginning to notice problems. Their border patrols were going missing. Their sensor networks were failing. Ships that should have been safe were losing power for no reason. War leader Keth Moran was getting angry. "What do you mean, we don't know what's happening?" He shouted at his intelligence officer. "Ships don't just disappear." "War leader," the officer said nervously. "Our patrols are reporting strange phenomena. Equipment failures. Sensor ghosts. It's like space itself is fighting us." "Nonsense." Keth Moran slammed his fist on the table. "It's the humans. They're playing tricks." His advisor Morgak entered the room with new reports. "War leader," Morgak said quietly. "I have disturbing news from our intelligence network. The humans are not where we expected them to be." "What do you mean?" "Our spies report that human space is almost empty of civilian activity. Every human factory is now making military equipment. Every human research station is working on weapons. Their entire economy has shifted to support the war." Keth Moran waved his hand dismissively. "So? That just means they're desperate." "No, war leader," Morgak said. "It means they're serious." Before Keth Moran could respond, alarms began ringing throughout the command center. An officer rushed in with urgent news. "War leader, 3 of our outer defense stations have gone dark. Enemy attack?" Keth Moran asked, reaching for his weapons. "We don't know, sir. There were no explosions. No distress signals. They just stopped responding." Captain Minho Choi was leading a special forces team toward one of those defense stations. His soldiers moved through space in suits that were invisible to sensors. They looked like empty space even up close. "Remember," Minho said to his team, "we're not here to kill anyone. We're here to learn how they think." The team attached themselves to the hull of the Velthari station. Using tools that could cut through any material, they made a small hole and entered the station's ventilation system. Inside, the Velthari soldiers were going about their normal duties. They had no idea that humans were already inside their most secure facility. Marine Hyejin Bay was recording everything. She watched how the Velthari organized their defenses. She listened to their communications. She learned their patrol schedules and their emergency procedures. "This is almost too easy," she whispered to Minho. "They have no idea how to fight an enemy they can't see." "That's the point," Minho replied. "We're not just gathering intelligence. We're showing them that nowhere is safe." The human team spent 6 hours inside the station. They copied every computer file. They learned every security code. They even took pictures of the station's layout. When they left, they took one thing with them: the station's main computer core. The Velthari would find it missing in the morning and realize that humans had been walking among them all night. But the real shock came when the humans began their psychological campaign. Every Velthari soldier in the border systems received the same message on their personal communicators. It was a video of their own defense station, but the video was taken from inside the station, showing areas that no enemy should have been able to reach. The message was simple. "You thought your walls could keep us out. You were wrong." The video showed human soldiers walking freely through the most secure areas of the station. It showed them accessing classified computers. It showed them standing next to sleeping Velthari soldiers who never knew they were there. At the end of the video, Captain Minho looked directly into the camera. "War leader Keth Moran," he said in perfect Velthari language, "we know where you sleep. We know what you eat for breakfast. We know the names of your children. We can reach you anywhere, anytime. The question is, do you want to keep playing this game?" The video ended with coordinates showing the location of Keth Moran's secret bunker, a bunker that was supposed to be known only to his most trusted advisors. Panic spread through the Velthari military. If humans could walk through their most secure facilities undetected, where were they safe? The answer came the next day. Nowhere. Velthari commanders across their empire woke up to find human messages on their personal computers. Messages that could only have been placed there by someone with physical access to the machines. Some messages were warnings. Others were detailed analyses of Velthari battle tactics, explaining exactly how humans would counter each strategy. A few were personal letters, mentioning the commanders' families by name and asking them to consider the cost of continued war. But the most disturbing messages were the simplest ones. Just a single sentence. "We were here." These appeared on computers in the most secure facilities in the Velthari Empire. Military headquarters, government buildings, even Keth Moran's personal residence. The psychological effect was devastating. Velthari soldiers began to wonder if humans were watching them right now. Officers started checking their rooms multiple times each night. Commanders became afraid to make plans, knowing that humans might already know what they were thinking. And still, no Velthari had actually seen a human soldier. Dr. So-Young Kang addressed the Galactic Council again, explaining what was happening. The humans are not fighting a normal war, she said. They are fighting a war of information and psychology. They want the Velthari to defeat themselves. But surely this cannot continue, said Counselor Vasktar. Eventually there will be real battles. Dr. Kang smiled sadly. Counselor, the real battle is already over. The Velthari just don't know it yet. She was right. In just 2 weeks, human forces had penetrated every level of Velthari society. They knew every military plan. They had mapped every defense. They understood how the Velthari thought, and how they would react to any situation. Most importantly, they had shown the Velthari that their enemy was not some distant force that could be fought with conventional weapons. The enemy was everywhere, invisible and all-knowing. The galaxy watched in fascination and terror as humans demonstrated why they had been content to stay in their corner of space. It was not because they were weak. It was because they were so powerful that using their full strength would have been unfair. War leader Kethmoran no longer slept in his own bed. For 3 weeks he had been moving from bunker to bunker, never staying in one place for more than a few hours. The humans were everywhere and nowhere. His mighty empire was falling apart from the inside. Ship commanders refused to leave port, afraid that invisible human vessels would disable them. Ground troops spent their time searching for enemies they could not see. His intelligence networks had gone completely silent, too afraid to communicate. War leader, Morgak said as he entered the latest hideout, we have received a message from the human Admiral Song. Kethmoran's 4 hands clenched into fists. What does she want? She is offering terms for surrender. Never, Kethmoran roared. The Velthari do not surrender. Morgak looked tired and old. War leader, perhaps we should listen to what she has to say. Admiral Sung Min Oh was leading the final phase of the human campaign. His fleet was massive, but it was not like any fleet the galaxy had ever seen. The ships looked normal from the outside, but inside they carried something much more dangerous than weapons. They carried knowledge. All ships report ready. Admiral, his communications officer said. Admiral O nodded. Begin the final operation. Remember, we are not here to destroy them. We are here to teach them. Specialist Yejin Lee sat in the fleet's command center, surrounded by computers and data screens. She was humanities expert on Velthari psychology. For months she had been studying how they thought, how they reacted, and what motivated them. Admiral, she said, the psychological profile is complete. The Velthari are a proud warrior culture, but their pride comes from a deep fear of being seen as weak. If we can show them a path to strength that doesn't involve fighting us, they will take it. And how do we do that? Admiral O asked. Yejin smiled. We show them what real strength looks like. The human fleet arrived at the edge of Velthari space without fanfare. They did not attack. They did not make threats. They simply appeared and began broadcasting a message to every Velthari world. The message showed Admiral O sitting in his command chair, calm and confident. War leader Kethmoran, he said, my name is Admiral O. I am here to end this war. He paused and looked directly into the camera. You attacked our colonies because you thought we were weak. You were wrong. We are not weak. We are careful. There is a difference. The broadcast switched to show images of human space, massive factories working day and night, ships being built at incredible speed, technologies that seemed impossible. For 3,000 years, Admiral O continued, humans have been holding back our true capabilities. We did this to keep the peace. But you have ended that peace. The images changed again. This time they showed Velthari space, but from angles and locations that should have been impossible for humans to reach. We know the location of every Velthari ship, every base, every leader. We have been inside your most secure facilities. We have read your most classified documents. There is nowhere in your empire that we have not been. Kethmoran watched the broadcast from his latest hiding place. His hands were shaking with rage and fear. This is impossible, he shouted. How could they know so much? The broadcast continued. We could have destroyed you completely in the first week of this war. Your fleets would be debris. Your worlds would be empty. Your people would be extinct. A long pause. But we did not do this. Do you know why? The screen showed images of human children playing in parks, scientists working in laboratories, artists creating beautiful works, teachers instructing students. Because destruction is easy, Admiral O said. Any species can destroy, but only a truly advanced civilization can create. Only a wise species can choose mercy when they have the power to choose otherwise. General Bora Kim was monitoring Velthari communications from the flagship. She was watching as the broadcast affected the enemy population. Admiral, she reported, we're seeing massive confusion in their command structure. Junior officers are asking their superiors if surrender is an option. Civilian populations are demanding explanations from their leaders. And Kethmoran, Admiral O asked. Still refusing to communicate, General Kim said. But his support is cracking. Many of his own war council are starting to question his decisions. The broadcast entered its final phase. Admiral O stood up and walked to a large window showing the stars. War Leader Kethmoran, I will make this simple for you. You have two choices. He turned back to the camera. Choice 1. You can continue this war. If you do, we will show you why the oldest law in the galaxy existed. We will demonstrate technologies you cannot imagine. We will use strategies you cannot counter. And when we are done, the Velthari Empire will be a footnote in galactic history. A long pause. Choice 2. You can end this war now. You can learn from this experience. You can become part of the solution instead of part of the problem. The screen showed images of other species working alongside humans, building things together, exploring the galaxy as partners instead of enemies. If you choose the second option, Admiral O continued, we will teach you what we have learned. We will share technologies that will benefit your people for generations. We will help you become stronger than you ever were as conquerors. The broadcast ended with a simple message. You have 24 hours to decide. Corporal Junseo Park had been one of the few survivors from New Busan. He watched the broadcast from his hospital bed on Earth, where he was recovering from his injuries. When it ended, he felt something he had not felt since the attack. Hope. They're really going to give them a choice? He asked the nurse. That's what Admiral O said, she replied. Humans always give their enemies a choice. And if they choose wrong? The nurse looked out the window at the massive shipyards visible in the distance. Then they'll learn why we were content to stay in our corner of the galaxy. On the Velthari homeworld, Kethmoran's war council was in chaos. Half of them wanted to surrender immediately. The other half were demanding a final battle to preserve their honor. We cannot surrender, Kethmoran shouted. The Velthari have never surrendered. War leader, said one of his younger officers. Perhaps that is why we have never faced an enemy like this. Morgak stood up slowly. He was old and had seen many wars. War leader, he said quietly. My grandfather told me something about the humans. He said they do not fight to win. They fight to solve problems. The problem they are trying to solve is us. What do you mean? Kethmoran asked. They want to change us, Morgak said. They want to make us into something that will never attack innocent people again. The question is, do we let them do it the easy way or the hard way? Before Kethmoran could answer, every communication device in the room began beeping. The message was from human intelligence networks inside the Velthari Empire. It was a complete analysis of what would happen if the war continued. Human battle plans that would defeat every Velthari strategy, casualty estimates that showed millions of Velthari dead, technologies that could turn Velthari weapons against themselves, but most importantly, it showed what would happen if the Velthari chose peace. Medical technologies that could extend Velthari lifespans, agricultural methods that could feed their growing population, educational systems that could make their children smarter and more capable. The message ended with a personal note to Kethmoran. War leader, you wanted to show your people what strength looks like. Here is your chance. The strongest thing any leader can do is choose the path that saves his people. Kethmoran read the message 3 times. Then he looked at his war council. These were the bravest warriors in the Velthari Empire, and every one of them was afraid, not afraid of dying. Velthari warriors did not fear death. They were afraid of what the humans could do to their entire species. Morgak, Kethmoran said finally, send a message to Admiral O. What should it say, war leader? Kethmoran closed his eyes and thought about his children, his people, the future of his species. Tell him we choose the second option. Across the galaxy, the Galactic Council received the news with relief and terror. Relief that the war was ending without massive bloodshed, terror at what they had witnessed. Elder Morthak spoke for many when he addressed the emergency session. "We have seen why the oldest law existed," he said. "The humans did not conquer the Velthari. They convinced them to conquer themselves. They did not destroy their enemy. They transformed them." He paused and looked around the chamber. "This is not war as we understand it. This is something far more frightening. The humans can change the very nature of a species. They can reach into the heart of a civilization and reshape it from within." The old tree being's voice became very quiet. "We must never forget what we have learned here. The humans are not our enemies, but they are not like us either. They are something else entirely, something that thinks on scales we cannot comprehend." In human space, Admiral O received Kethmaran's surrender message, but he did not smile with victory. Instead, he looked sad. "The hardest part begins now," he told his staff. "We have to keep our promise. We have to help them become better than they were." "Will it work?" asked General Kim. Admiral O looked out at the stars. "It has to work, because if we fail to transform them properly, we may have to fight this war all over again." The war was over, but the real challenge was just beginning. 5 years had passed since the Velthari War ended. The galaxy looked very different now. President Ji Hoon-yang stood at the window of his office on New Geneva, the diplomatic capital of human space. He was watching ships arrive for the annual Galactic Peace Conference. But these were not the same ships that had existed 5 years ago. Many of them were Velthari vessels, but they looked different. Cleaner, more advanced. Their hulls gleamed with new metals that human technology had made possible. Their engines ran on power systems that produced no pollution. "Mr. President," his aide said, "Counselor In-young Choi is here for the briefing." President Yang nodded. "Send her in." Counselor Choi entered the room with a smile. She had been humanity's representative to the Galactic Council for 2 years now. Before that, she had been part of the team that worked with the Velthari after their surrender. "Sir," she said, "the latest reports from Velthari space are very encouraging." She activated a holographic display that showed the former Velthari Empire. But the name had changed. Now it was called the Velthari Human Cooperative Zone. "Their population is healthier than it has ever been," Counselor Choi said. "The medical technologies we shared with them have eliminated most diseases. Their children are living 30% longer than their grandparents did." President Yang studied the numbers. "And their military?" "Completely transformed," Counselor Choi said. "They still have warriors, but now those warriors protect shipping lanes and rescue stranded travelers. They see themselves as guardians of the peace instead of conquerors." "Any resistance to the changes?" Counselor Choi paused. "Some of the older generation still grumble about the old ways, but their own children argue with them. The young Velthari have seen what cooperation with humans can accomplish. They do not want to go back to endless wars." That afternoon, the Galactic Peace Conference began. Representatives from thousands of worlds gathered in the Great Assembly Hall. But the most remarkable sight was at the entrance. A Velthari honor guard stood beside human marines. 5 years ago, these two species had been at war. Now they served together as peacekeepers for the entire galaxy. Ambassador Seok-Jin Nam entered the hall wearing both Velthari ceremonial armor and human diplomatic insignia. He had been born Velthari, but he now represented the cooperative zone. Many considered him the most effective diplomat in the galaxy. "Honored beings," he said as he took his place at the speaker's platform, "I stand before you as proof that enemies can become family." The hall was quiet as he continued. 5 years ago, my people made a terrible mistake. We thought strength meant the ability to destroy. The humans taught us that true strength is the ability to create and protect." He gestured to the human section of the assembly. "They could have wiped us out completely. Instead, they chose to save us from ourselves. They showed us technologies that could feed our people better than conquest ever could. They taught us sciences that could make our worlds into paradise." Ambassador Nam paused and looked around the hall. "But most importantly, they showed us what it means to think beyond ourselves, to consider not just our own species but all species, to build something larger than any one world or empire." Elder Jun-Ho Lee sat in the section reserved for galactic historians. He was one of the few beings alive who had witnessed both the first human wars and the recent transformation of the Velthari. When the session ended, he was asked to speak to the younger delegates about the lessons learned. "Young ones," Elder Lee said, You have seen something that has never happened before in galactic history. You have seen a species choose to transform its enemies instead of destroying them. A young delegate raised her hand. Elder Lee, why did the humans make this choice? The old being smiled. Because they understood something that we are only beginning to learn. In a galaxy full of different species, there are only two real choices. We can all grow together, or we can all fall apart separately. He activated a display showing human space before and after the war. Look at these numbers, he said. Human scientific advancement has increased by 400% since they began working closely with the Velthari. Velthari culture has become richer and more complex through contact with human arts and philosophy. The display changed to show other species that had begun working more closely with humans. Every species that has chosen cooperation over competition has benefited. Their people are healthier, their worlds are cleaner, their technologies are more advanced. But what about the old law? Asked another delegate. Never cross the humans. Does it still apply? Elder Lee's expression became serious. The old law still exists, but it has evolved. It is no longer never cross the humans. It is never cross the peace that the humans protect. He pointed to the mixed honor guard at the entrance. Those Velthari warriors will now fight to protect human colonies. Those human marines will now die to defend Velthari worlds. They are no longer separate species. They are partners in something larger. In a private meeting room, President Yang was discussing the future with his senior advisors. The integration is proceeding faster than we hoped, said Defense Minister Park Soo-jin. Velthari military academies are now teaching human tactical methods. Human schools are teaching Velthari honor codes to our children. Any problems with the process? President Yang asked. Only one, said Dr. Kang, now serving as Director of Interspecies Relations. Success. Explain. Other species are asking for the same treatment, Dr. Kang said. They see what happened with the Velthari, and they want to be transformed too. Not through war, but through voluntary cooperation. President Yang smiled. And that's a problem because we're not sure we can handle that many partnerships at once, Dr. Kang admitted. The Velthari transformation required thousands of human specialists working for years. If 50 species want the same treatment, we'll need to train a lot more people. Then we train them, President Yang said simply. That's what we do. We solve problems. The final session of the Peace Conference was held in the same chamber where, 5 years earlier, the Galactic Council had watched helplessly as the Velthari declared war on humanity. Elder Morthak, now very old but still sharp, was given the honor of closing the conference. Friends, he said in his voice like wind through ancient trees, 5 years ago we gathered here in fear. Today we gather in hope. He activated a holographic display that showed the entire galaxy. But now it looked different. Lines of light connected thousands of worlds, showing trade routes, communication networks, and cultural exchanges. This is what the galaxy looks like when species choose cooperation over conquest, he said. Every line of light represents lives saved, knowledge shared, problems solved together. The display zoomed in on the area where the war had been fought. Where once there were battle fleets, now there are research vessels exploring unknown regions together. Where once there were military bases, now there are schools teaching the children of former enemies to work as partners, Elder. Morthak paused and looked directly at the human delegation. The humans taught us the most important lesson in galactic history. The strongest species is not the one that can destroy all others. The strongest species is the one that can help all others become their best selves. He activated the final part of his presentation. It showed a new crystal monument that had been built in the center of the galaxy. The inscription was written in every known language. Here stands the new law of the galaxy. Never forget that enemies can become family, strangers can become partners, and fear can become hope. Honor this choice for all our sakes. As the conference ended, delegates from hundreds of worlds signed the new Galactic Compact. It was a document that committed every signatory to peaceful cooperation and mutual aid. But the most significant signature came from former war leader Keth Moran, who now served as the Velthari Minister of Peace. 5 years ago, he said as he signed, I thought strength meant the power to take whatever I wanted. Today I know that strength means the power to give others what they need. He looked at President Yang and bowed in the Velthari manner of showing deep respect. The humans showed me what real warriors fight for, Kethmorin said. Not for conquest, not for glory, but for the chance to build something better than what came before. That night, as the delegates prepared to return to their worlds, President Yang stood again at his window. The ships leaving New Geneva carried more than diplomats and trade agreements. They carried hope. Counselor Choi joined him at the window. Do you think it will last? She asked. President Yang considered the question. The peace? Yes, I think it will. We've given everyone a better option than war. And if someone forgets the lesson? If another species decides to test us? President Yang smiled. Then they'll learn the same lesson the Velthari did. But I suspect it won't be necessary. Why not? Because now we have teachers, President Yang said. He pointed to a Velthari ship that was departing with a mixed crew of humans and Velthari. Every species that chooses cooperation becomes part of the solution. They help us teach the next species that makes the wrong choice. Counselor Choi nodded. So the old law really has changed. Yes, President Yang said. It's no longer about never crossing the humans. It's about never choosing destruction when you could choose creation instead.